in the future of Britain, really, in a way, when it comes to net zero. But former Prime Minister Boris Johnson has warned that, quote, we cannot afford to falter now or in any way lose our ambition for this country as Rishi Sunak prepares to ditch controversial net zero commitments. That will be brought to you live on the show in about 20 minutes. So the Prime Minister says he remains committed to the 2050 net zero target. It's caused a rift in his own party. The Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, has urged the government and said that it's not going to save the planet by bankrupting Britons. But other Tories have expressed outrage at a potential betrayal of green policies and commitments. We spoke about one Home Secretary there. I've got a former Home Secretary joining me in the studio in a few moments' time, Priti Patel, who's going to be gearing up and then reacting to Rishi Sunak's announcement. But joining me now is Head of Policy at Net Zero Watch, Harry Wilkinson, and Donnachadh McCarthy, Director of the Climate Media Coalition. I just thought, why not? Let's go hammer and tongs right from the start. Harry, I'll start with you. Is this a good thing that Rishi Sunak is doing, potentially rowing back on the banning of diesel and petrol cars and talking about all sorts of stuff as well, no new green taxes and things like that? Is this good?
Well, Patrick, you're completely right to focus on how significant this could be. It's been an extraordinary day, and I certainly hope that he's about to announce a changed net zero approach. Let's be clear, these are tentative steps. We're still seeing a ban on petrol and diesel cars in 2035 rather than 2030. But I think where the significance of this is the government being honest that there are trade-offs involved with net zero. For so long, we've just been told we're going to get richer, everything's going to be great, and net zero is just a panacea for all our problems. The reality is very different. People instinctively have always known that, but the government hasn't fronted up to the reality. They're hopefully going to do that now, and that's why I am optimistic that Rishi is about to announce some good news.
Yeah, Donnachadh, this is not a full-scale rowing back of net zero, is it? It's more, the way Rishi Sunak will inevitably bracket this is it's a slower pace, more financially responsible way of doing it that fits in with a kind of cost-benefit analysis. And what's wrong with that?
The message that Rishi Sunak is giving to the world as the world leaders are meeting in New York to address the crisis is that Britain is going to actually row back on its commitments to tackling the climate crisis. The complete opposite of what Margaret Thatcher did when she went to the UN to lead. And he's doing the opposite. He's actually saying, undermining the UN when Thatcher said, we as Britain will lead the UN. And the issue is, what's interesting to me is that none of the measures that Rishi is announcing will help consumers reduce bills. For example, reducing the requirement on landlords to make energy efficient rented a property means consumers will pay higher bills. Their absolute devastating destruction of the wind auction last week means another $2 billion onto consumers' prices as we look forward. So it's a disaster for consumers and disaster for the economy, and worst of all, disaster for the future climate.
OK, lots to unpack there. Harry, why should Rishi Sunak care about what people at the world stage think when countries like India and China don't really appear to be doing anything to help out? So why should Rishi Sunak not care more about, your ordinary working-class British taxpayer?
I agree. Britain has already decarbonised further than pretty much any other major developed country. So we've already done a lot. We're still going to be doing a lot more. But, we've got to be thinking about the impact on ordinary people. When you're talking about banning petrol cars, you're talking about, a technology that gets most people around and to their jobs, to see their families. This is fundamental to people's personal freedoms. And so when you're talking about phasing them out, it all sounds very nice, but the hard reality is that it will hurt people. It will push up the cost of driving. It will make it something that only the wealthy can afford. So it's right that he's listening to the concerns.